What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Umar wouldn't be surprised if Merab pulls out of UFC 311. Umar Nurmagomedov's upcoming fight with Merab Dvalishvili might be just weeks away, but the number one contender is not convinced that the champion's going to show up. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Heading into the new year, Umar did an interview with Brett Okamoto for the UFC's YouTube channel, and at one point, he said that he wouldn't be surprised if the champion pulls out of the UFC 311 co-main event. I will not be surprised and nobody will be surprised. Even right now, I saw commentary on Twitter. They said he will pull out, but he never pulled out before. I hope he will not. And the fight is going to happen. I think he just wants to fight a real guy he can beat. It doesn't mean I'm really going to 100% go inside the cage and smash him. No, he knows other guys he will beat. With me, it's going to be hard. That's why he's trying to be champion for a long time and he wants to fight with O'Malley, with Peter Yan, or someone else because these guys, easy money. Even though the champion's given no indication that he's gonna pull out of the fight, he did admit back in December that he was dealing with an injury. When the champion got locked out of the UFC PI because Umar Nurmagomedov was inside training, he said in his follow-up video for Instagram that he was trying to get in so he could get some work done on an injury. With the title fight just weeks away, hopefully the UFC's first pay-per-view card of the year isn't hit with a short notice withdrawal. Israel Adesanya's coach reveals big changes in training camp. Israel Adesanya's heading into the new year looking to get back in the win column after dropping back-to-back losses for the first time in his MMA career. Because of that, City kickboxing coach Eugene Berriman has been switching things up in camp. Ahead of Izzy's upcoming fight with Nasruddin Imavov in Saudi Arabia, Berriman spoke in an interview for Combat TV, where he explained that because of the former champion's last few fights, he feels like, as a coach, he has to do something different for this camp. There are a few things I'm doing quite differently with Izzy for this fight. They're a lot more drastic to what I'm usually accustomed to doing. I like to take things very steady and take a kind of, if it's not broken, there's no need to fix it based on past performances. I thought we needed to really kind of flip things on its head a bit, and yeah, he's looking really good and responding really well to this slightly different approach. So he's responding really well and he's looking really good. I'm looking for a very vintage performance from Israel, and so far, we're right on track for that. After pretty heated buildups for his fights with Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis, Izzy has been all business this time around, and leading up to February's fight, he said it in a video for his YouTube channel that he's gonna let his hands do the talking. Although he knows full well that Nasruddin Imavov is no joke, he's set on getting back on the win column and working his way back into title contention. Dricus du Plessis roasts Themba Gorimbo for comments. Themba Gorimbo's story from being orphaned as a child and working as a blood diamond smuggler all the way to the UFC is like something out of a Hollywood film. Because of that and his highlight reel knockout over Pete Rodriguez early on in his UFC career, Gorimbo's built up an army of loyal fans. Despite that, in an episode of the Pivot podcast, an understandably upset Gorimbo revealed that after he was submitted by Vicente Luque at UFC 310, one of his cousins sent him a video where several of Gorimbo's cousins were all celebrating his loss at a place they used to get together.
When I go online, like one of my cousins, I can't speak his name, but like he messaged me that the day after I lost this last fight, some of my cousins were celebrating my loss. They were all celebrating my loss. And he sent me a video of them in a place where we were 15 years ago, this small circle in Danun, where it's a slum, like when you call it, it's like a slum. And these cousins of mine were celebrating my loss. And do you know how much that eats you? Yeah. Because all I try to do is better for everybody.
In response, Dricus du Plessis fired back at Gorimbo in an Instagram comment, writing, "Yeah, because anybody that knows you would." DDP didn't give any sort of context to his comments, but this isn't the first time these two have been in headlines. Earlier this year, the two got into a back and forth online because of du Plessis' comments about being a real African champ, with DDP calling Gorimbo a snake and alluding to tapping Gorimbo out in training. The whole thing sparked a pretty heated back and forth at the time, and from the sounds of things, even though it's been a while, there's still plenty of bad blood. Garry offers to be backup for Belal Muhammad vs Shavkat Rakhmonov. Garry wants to get right back on the horse after a back and forth fight with Shavkat Rakhmonov to close out the year. Although he might not have cemented his place as the number one contender at 170, Garry wants to weigh in as the backup fighter when the Nomad and Belal Muhammad throw down later this year. In an interview with MMA Knockout, Garry spoke about the welterweight title picture and his place in the division after his recent loss. "I'm absolutely in my mind the number 2 contender in the world. So could I see the UFC booking me as a replacement? Yes. Do I think it's realistic? Potentially. However, we'll see when the cards come. If they want that, if they need that, I will say one thing, I'll be ready if they want me, like I always am, ready, prepared for anyone and anywhere. The way I look at this is that the fight against Shavkat was to be the #1 contender in the world and go out and fight for the belt next. If I'm not the #1 contender, of which Shavkat got his hand raised and has now cemented himself, I'm definitely #2. While there's no official word from the UFC on when the Rakhmonov-Muhammad fight might happen, Dominance MMA head Ali Abdelaziz, who manages the champion, said in an interview with MMA Junkie that after recovering from a gnarly bone infection in his toe, the champion could be back in action in May. If Garry wants to fight before then, a fight against either Sean Brady or Jack Della Maddalena could make sense given the rankings, while cementing Garry as one of the top fighters in the division. UFC Fight Updates. With the new year underway, the fight updates just keep on coming. This time, we got a new addition to the UFC Mexico card in March, with Kelvin Gastelum set to fight Joe Pyfer. After missing weight for his welterweight fight with Daniel Rodriguez back in June, fans wondered whether the UFC would wind up cutting the former TUF winner. Instead, now he'll collide with Body Bags at 185 in March after Pyfer's first-round victory over Marc-Andre Barriault back in June. We've also got an update on Aljamain Sterling, who sounds ready to get back in the octagon after a loss to Movsar Evloev back in December. In a post on social media, Sterling showed off his physique, telling the UFC to let him know what's up.
Coming, baby. Just a righty. A little fat right now. We'll be ready.
It shouldn't come as much of a surprise that Sterling is trying to make a quick turnaround. After his loss at UFC 310, Sterling said less than 2 weeks later that he wanted to fight either Arnold Allen or Brian Ortega in March. However, from the looks of things, there hasn't been much movement on either fight behind the scenes. Tony Ferguson teases fight news coming soon. Although the expectation was that Tony Ferguson would likely retire after his first-round submission loss to Michael Chiesa back in August, El Cucuy instead left one glove in the center of the octagon and took the other with him just in case. Now, with the new year underway, it sounds like Ferguson is gearing up for another fight inside the octagon. After saying during an appearance on Demetrius Johnson's YouTube channel that he is not retiring and is looking to return to action in January or February, the former interim champion posted on Instagram to celebrate the new year, writing, "Completely destroyed myself to reinvent it. As an artist, I aim to show something you've never seen before. Happy New Year Crew 2025 in my sights. Stay tuned and watch the magic unfold. New missions acknowledged. Fight news coming soon." The timing of Ferguson's post coincides with the announcement that Donald Cowboy Cerrone is back in the UFC's testing pool and looking to fight 2 more times to make it to 50 fights in the UFC. Although Dana White initially didn't seem interested in bringing Cowboy back, it sounds like he's now charging full steam ahead towards a return once he's eligible to compete again. Given that, and the fact that Ferguson's last win was against Cowboy back in 2019, the UFC could book these 2 legends for a rematch. Dana White receives sad news. According to Professional Bull Riders CEO Sean Gleason, Dana White was hit with some unfortunate news to kick off the new year, with his bull, Twisted Steel, as a result of health complications. Gleason announced the news on social media. Some sad news to begin the new year. After dealing with an ongoing health issue, Dana White's Twisted Steel has passed away peacefully in Texas. Like many others, Dana established a special bond with Twisted Steel, whose popularity among fans matched his soaring buck-off percentage. While Twisted Steel will never be replaced, Dana loves the sport and with his partner Dennis Davis continues on with Sour Diesel and White Thunder. Don't be surprised to see his roster of bulls grow. For now, we send our deepest condolences to Dana and all those who cared for Twisted Steel. White got into the bull riding scene back in 2016 and has even gone so far as to compare bull riding to fighting. Apparently, Twisted Steel was legendary among bull riders and bucked off 87% of those who rode him. At one point, Cowboy Cerrone was even going to try his hand at riding the famed bull, but wound up getting injured beforehand. Prior to Twisted Steel, the UFC boss had 2 other bulls who have both retired. Based on Sean Gleason's post, White still has 2 other bulls actively competing. The MMA community reacts to Arman Tsarukyan's insane body transformation. Arman shared on Instagram showing off his physique before his fight against Islam Makhachev at UFC 311. He wrote saying, "2024 mission complete. 2025 championship year loading. We will make history." Here's what the MMA community had to say to Arman. "Arman looks like he's already ready to step on the scale. Bro thinks he's Islam Makhachev, LMAO. Both him and Islam are on the same scale. It's a very tough fight for the both of them. People that don't train should stop watching MMA. Looks like he aged 10 years. Arman knocked out Islam out in round 4. Physically, you're good, but you're going to be lost. Islam gonna be in big trouble now. How is he so shredded? They need to make a 165-pound division. Dude is not supposed to be fighting at 155. Looks like Wolverine. Steroid champ. One fan accused Arman of using steroids, showing a GIF video of a guy shooting up with a needle.